Hello there, back again for the third video in this series. This particular series, the depth and recovery journey would be kind of long, but the contemplating bankruptcy. Oh, let me see. Did I got this up high enough? Looks like I do. Yeah. Contemplating bankruptcy. That won't be too long. Maybe this is the last video and for this, and then the next video will start on actually going through the process. I think I'm going to go begin the process next week. But I said, you know what? Instead of me just making the next video when I begin the process, let me talk about this because this is something that people should be aware of. I believe in my last video I talked about the purchases made on the credit cards. Like when you go, when you file, some of the creditors or the credit card companies, if that's who you owe, if it's personal loans or something like that, that's different. But if it's credit card companies, they may examine some of your purchases and say, "Oh, look what he bought here. We're going to challenge this, especially if it's for a good amount of money. Let's say a good amount of money. Let's say over $500. But not only that, though, this is something else that people should be aware of. Not only will may the creditors look through your credit card statements, and maybe the trustee, but the trustee may also look through your bank statements for the last 6 months, maybe some of them up to a year if they feel like it. But definitely, I think all of them will look for the past 6 months. The reason why I mentioned that is because did I ever say about in the last video about if you give preferential treatment? In other words, people sometimes borrow from their family or friends. Let's say you borrow $1,000 from your cousin and you paid that person back, but you didn't pay the other creditors back. Sometimes they look to claw that money back. They'll see that on because you're not going to pay your cousin with a credit card. They'll see it on your bank statement. Say, oh, what's this? This withdrawal here. What do you know? What happened here? And that may cause some issues between you and your cousin if he gets contacted by a bankruptcy trustee saying, give that money back because we're going to divide. You may get some of it, but we're going to divide the rest of it back amongst your creditors. In other words, let's say you got him and four creditors. That's five of y'all, so he only get $200. But I think you can make a deal where you say, listen, don't bother my cousin. I'll pay that. I'll pay that 800 to those people. I won't try to discharge that. But besides that, if you got some purchases that's kind of outrageous that they may challenge, like what is this? Because you're opening yourself up when you do this. The good thing is you can have thousands of dollars in debt. If, like I said, if your income is low enough, and if you don't have an asset, so you can just be like, poof, and it'll disappear. It will harm your credit score, of course, but you won't have that load on you. But at the same time, you have to, since you're coming to the court asking for this, they may be kind of nosy. From my understanding, the judge signs the thing, but the trustee is the first person. It's the person that does the day-to-day investigating on these things. They actually look through the papers, and some may be more nosy than others. What I mean by that is, let's say within the last 6 months, you have an OnlyFans, especially if you had a few, what are them OnlyFans subscriptions? Now, they may not use these exact words, but they may be like, you can't pay your bills, but you can pay these hoes, huh? They may know what it is, because they may just ask you, what's this? What's this subscription? What is it? Or females, they may, because they may have, maybe you ordered sex toys online or something. Be like, okay, well, how many dildos do you need? They may not come out and say that, or they may not even say anything about it. But you are if you use your banking, your debit card, anything like that, you're opening yourself up for those type of questions. Um, I don't have anything like that where I have to worry about being ashamed, especially if you're a guy and you bought some sex toys. I guess if you bought a blow up doll, it won't be that bad. And maybe, like I said, if it doesn't cost that much, they may not even question, especially if it's like a one off thing. But who knows? It depends. You can get a trustee that's really nosy, that want to know just about everything. Where's this money coming in from? Who give you this money? Where's it? It's something to think about. So, if let's say you're thinking about this too, maybe you're watching this video and you say, oh, maybe I should file for this bank. I can't pay this debt. It's just crushing me. Maybe I should just have it discharged and try to start all over again for a fresh start. But maybe within the last, let's say 4 months or something, you have some questionable purchases on your, with your debit card or something like that. Maybe you might want to wait a couple of months, So I don't know, about a year, maybe, but maybe if it's older than 6 months, it's a good chance maybe they may not ask for that. They may say, let me see your banking statements for the last 6 months. It's not just something to think about, especially for married couples. Let's say if you're a married couple, I think one person can file for bankruptcy and not the other person, but it may be some things that you don't want. You may make some purchases or something you don't want your spouse to know about. So that's basically it for this. And like I said, I think next week I will start the process, and then this, unless something else comes up, this should be the last video in this series about contemplating. Unless something comes up that I forgot to mention, the next video should be about the process, going through the process. I said in the last video that I can do it myself, but I may not want to do it myself. I may not have to, because if you're thinking about doing this, you don't have thousands of dollars to pay a lawyer or whatever like that. But there are like legal clinics and pro bono services and stuff like that. And I'm gonna do some inquiring and reaching out, and then tell the people here through YouTube I'm in the New York area, what you can expect, So I figured I'll drop a video like this, and just let people know, listen, if you're thinking about doing this, if you have some purchases that you don't want revealed to other people, nosy people like bankruptcy and trustees or whatever like that, maybe you ought to wait a little while or stop doing it. Or better yet, you go to the check cashing place, you get these prepaid debit cards, and you put you put the money on it and stuff like that. Maybe when you're going to make purchases that you want to keep confidential, you use that card. All right then, so that's about it for this video. If you like me warning you about that, about them going to your banking statements, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for the next video, when I'm actually most likely beginning the process. It'll be the next series of videos on this journey. Thanks for listening, or thanks for viewing.